Check, check. You already know what it is. Moorish MC. Yeah, yo. All praise due to Allah, no bow ties. On my tracks, rappers get the warp speed blow bars. Stay in my lane around corners, one man, no eyes, Cyclops Bay. Covenant not new like pole lights. Running a fraud, you paid 4,300. Lord, this in the legend. Typical coon and reverence, but people support getting played rock for birthrights. It's not about fiat, your energy quenches their thirst, right? Vampires and warlocks speak with finesse in their speech. Subconscious mind traps won't release, detecting a breach. They dissing their prophet, true Ali, they dissing their creed. Before you follow dirty Moors, listen to me. Every Moor is not your bro, most of them sold out. Ask Khalid, Malcolm, Shabazz, and the ones that know about getting stabbed in their back for talking about rights. Minus the civil, notwithstanding, like a cripple. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, the priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Middlemen come calling themselves prophets and godsends, claiming they're sovereign, following hillbilly nonsense, saying Moors are wrong, taking things out of context. Stupidity of conscious blacks is an inferior complex, following leaders that won't go with you off the cliff, lying about slavery and even about slave ships, robbing the ignorant, saying papers found federal under the jurisdiction of attorney generals, claiming strong men for credit in a debt system. Yes, bonds from the treasury are really from the IMF. I am just saying what I see from the conscious, begging while acting obnoxious with no solutions. 1,500 for service products that cost 50 cents to print. These black devils are off their rockers. They don't feel on the coffers. Highwaymen think killing the bay is gonna stop us. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. Here is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead.
To be respected as a human being, to be given the right in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
You're gonna relegate my history to a month? Oh, what do you do with yours? Which month is life history? I'm Jewish. Okay, which month is Jewish history month? There is. Oh, why not? Do you want one? No, I don't either. I don't want a Black History month. Black history is American history. How are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
Islam, Moors, peace and love. It's that simple. Stop calling and stop calling me black. Tomorrow. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. I just wanted to say, Morisco World TV for showing and proving that it's all about having something virtual in order to get the word out to the people. Because when you have these buildings that you build, people don't come to them. Right? Because they got lives to live. Trust me, we have a building and people don't come there. Only with a special occasion, you know what I mean? Which is expected. But it ain't about no building in 2017 when stuff's at people's fingertips. Right? The concept of nationality is the order of the day. It's not something new. It's not something that Moors alone speak about, right? We're gonna go through some readings by one of the so-called black leaders. At the same time, recognizing that this so-called black leader is the forerunner of the Moorish movement, Marcus Garvey. You know, we already know that Negroes don't read. So stateless people, people without nationalities, have been given all the keys, all leaders that, you know, were sincerely gave them everything. And in these people's ignorance of waiting for somebody to do stuff for them, they didn't even read their own stuff that their so-called founders or whatever left. Now they're lost in the sauce, you know, don't know what to do with themselves, and finger at the boogeyman, blaming boogeyman for something that they did to their self, because as we know, you know, it's always our own that flops our stuff, never somebody else, right? Even if it's somebody else, they send one of our own to firebomb the stuff with themselves. All right. So we're gonna go into the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey. If you have your copy, page 350, 352. 352. Very interesting perspective, because, you know, the theme is that Moors don't know what we're talking about. You know, when Moors speak, when Moors bring up, you know, nationality and birthrights, everybody's running into some club and join and Islam, and to do with the point that Moors are trying to make. Right? Everybody always goes into all this other stuff. So we're gonna just read some of this so that we can get a perspective of where Marcus Garvey says, you know, our people like the black guys, they don't want to listen to Moors or whatever. We'll hear what Marcus Garvey's perspective is, you know, with regard to enemy and stuff like that, right? And then keep in mind that the good elder, Dr. Amos Wilson, gave them even a blueprint for black power, a way that the so-called who rep the red, black, green flags or whatever can make black power a moral, political, and economic initiative imperative for a century. All right. Now keep in mind, black power has nothing to do with calling yourself black. Then let's get him on the record. There's Dr. Amos Wilson. All right. So if you can get this book, you know, it's a good read. You know what I mean? It'll give you a perspective, so you can know how the people who claim that they're for our people but identify themselves as black missed the boat, which is why we're in the situation we're in, again, because of our own being incompetent. And trust me, I used to be incompetent too. I used to call myself black. We used to go fight skinheads and stuff like that. Trust me, we rep black power, right? We repped black power harder than some of these people here who claim that they're black power or whatever. Believe that. because we know, that our people are very frustrated. I mean, I came from that angry hole to this white man. You know what I mean? But you have all the anger in the world, but when you see him face to face, you're not doing jack. You're just gonna stand there and yell profanities. I was there, trust me. Not the position to be in, especially now, with Morris talking about the NYPD riot van with the fence at the back, right? So they can, one, just corral you, or two, just mow you down. Right? And before we go into Marcus Garvey too, another thing with regard to, this whole stateless idea. Stateless people always like to bring up Mansour Ball-Bey. Well, they killed Mansour Ball-Bey, and we direct those people to Mansour Ball-Bey's lawyer if you want to know, what happened and all that stuff. Don't just ask Moors, because Mansour Ball-Bey's family hired a lawyer. So a lawyer is a power of attorney. You know what a power of attorney is, right? So if you have a problem with somebody that you can't directly talk to for whatever reason, and they have a power of attorney, you don't go around asking people who look like the individual self because they're deceased or they're mute or whatever. You go to their power of attorney. So please let Mansour Ball-Bey rest in peace. Please, right? Let the brother rest in peace. Stop bringing him up when Moors bring up your incompetent position of, shot. So why are you saying that you're a Moor? Well, look how much niggers got shot, lynched, and you still call yourself slave on a tree. And they got lynched for that. They got lynched. They got their stomach cut open and their baby stomped on because they wanted to be on the plantation opposed to being free. And you still say that you're slaves from Africa today. Not one penny has been given to reparations for these so-called people that came over the stuff, right? But you still call yourself that, even though by calling yourself that, you're not getting reparations. But nah, they're racist is why they're not giving you reparations. Dumbass. Classifying yourself as something that you're not. That's why Marcus Garvey told you. Association. Because you're not going to be a nation as a Negro. You're going to have to be out of Negro status in order to be a nation. And again, Marcus Garvey showed all these so-called black people who say that they honor him, they showed him that their living example of biblical descendancy is going to come out of Ethiopia. Before it happened, he said that. The coronation of Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey told everybody that UNIA, Negro race, a king is going to come out of Ethiopia. When that happens, that's going to be the sign for you. That nation. This is what Mark, just consider, right? Because everybody knows, especially the Rastafarians, because the Rastafarians, they hold Garvey very high. So they know that he said that. That's why they honor Haile Selassie the way they do. Because Garvey said that this is going to happen, and then it happened. So they honor him that much to recognize that. but they didn't recognize the part that he said, nationality. They didn't recognize the part that Chicago Defender showed where, Marcus Garvey got visited by Noble Drew Ali in Atlanta prison before he got deported. And that Marcus Garvey wrote a letter to the Garveyites before he got deported, letting them know that the only way they're going to be happy is if they have a nationality, their nationality. He never spoke about their nationality ever before that. He always spoke about their nation. Never, ever, ever once. Matter of fact, he did mention nationality, and he was saying nationality was BS in his early years. African race doesn't need a nationality because whatever. Well, how come about to be deported, he changed his tune and start talking about nationality? This is Marcus Garvey we're talking about. Why? Because he had that meeting. He met the man. And he was congratulated for his great work and acknowledged as the forerunner of Noble Drew Ali. Right? So we're talking about individuals being told what's good, but refusing the reality because of their dumbness, because they keep waiting on the priests to teach them instead of going and studying. Learn something from a YouTube video. Well, that means nothing if you're not studying after the YouTube video. If you're just going from YouTube video to YouTube video, nothing like that, you're just watching videos, that's not studying. That's not real. But this is where a lot of our people are at, in this illusion of know thyself. The illusion of know thyself that, you can wear a dashiki, but your name is Jeff. It's all right. You have a dashiki on. Right? The illusion of, Huey P. Newton Gun Club. And all they're doing is walking around. No breakfast clubs, nothing like that. With guns. How come you don't have a breakfast club with the guys with the guns in front of the breakfast club protecting the children? Or you guys just gonna walk up and down the street with guns and think you guys serious? You guys are Black Panthers. I haven't gotten one flyer of a 10-point plan. Black Panther, Huey P. Newton Gun Club people. But I'm supposed to, you claim that you're a slave that came over here from Africa, which means you can't be a citizen. Right to bear arms? How you have a right to bear arms when you're not a citizen of anything? Keep in mind, Afeni Shakur went to court and defended the Black Panthers. 52 of them, 400 charges or something, everything dismissed. Only Moors do that. Negroes hire lawyers. Just go back to what we said about Mansur Balbay. Negroes hire lawyers. You think these so-called people, Hayward Bay and all these people, know what? They don't know why they're Bay. They just got that from their family. Nobody ever taught them about their nationality and birthrights. They're Negroes with Bay, Negroes with L. They're not people who are studious people with regard to nationality and birthrights and Moorish history. I was telling somebody yesterday, the Quran that we got on Khalifa Media, the 1920 whatever Quran, somebody was on eBay selling a Quran. Right? Okay. Now, the reason why we got excited because it said Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple. So that's why we got excited. Because it's from 1920 something, but it says Holy Quran of Moorish Holy Temple, not Moorish Science Temple. Temple is the all and be all. Well, today, who represent that? 1913 and all that. So 1926 Quran being sold by somebody on eBay, their family was part of the Moorish Science Temple. I'm an aunt or somebody like that. Okay, so aunt would mean that one of your parents, brother or sister. Yeah. What's the family's name? You ever heard about Noble Jolly before? Well, you know, there's just a religious whatever, start going like that. Like, oh yeah, I'll take that book, no problem. What do you want for that? I see you guys got bids up for it or whatever. $10, that's it. You know that's from 1926, right? Oh, you don't know about the Moorish? All right, no problem. Here's 20 notes. Send the book. Remember, we've been told by the leaders, particular people relayed the correct message. Our lack of study, we missed it. And then it's coming back up again. The first book was Nationality Order of the Day message. All Garveyites, Black Power people, Rastafarian, Pan-African people, whatever. Because I came out of that. When I came into this, and I realized what the message really was being told that I missed because I was a dumb nigger and I didn't read on emotionalism. Nothing was based on what I read and studied. Right? I knew it had to get cleared up. Right? So wrote the book to clear it up because on the strength, you know, I'll go to Bingy together to go beat the drum and all that. If I'm coming and saying I'm more right now, then, you know, we used to do Bingy together. You should be jumping on board. You know what I mean? We used to go to KKK or, you know, skinhead rallies just to be there. Just so these people don't think they could just do whatever they think they want to do or whatever. You know what I mean? Like we're scared of their white supremacy BS when we're black supremacy. We have king in Ethiopia and all that stuff. Who the hell do you guys think you are? Figured, you know, if you start talking about Moors, you just jump on board. Why not? But it wasn't the case. Because people don't read. Especially people who claim that they know themselves. They're the most least reading people out here, but they know the most about themselves. Media.com. If you are so-called Garveyite or whatever, you claim that you rep Garvey, so-called Rastafari, and you claim you rep Haile Selassie or whatever, then the connection is to Noble Drew Ali, told by somebody who used to be down with your BS. That's a fiction. It's a fiction. That's why I jumped ship. And I said, I'm not black, Negro colored. You see, I will rep Garvey. Of course. He was maroon. He's not no Negro. He called his stuff Negro for your dumbass, but he's not Negro. He's maroon. Yeah, just like everybody from Jamaica is a maroon. Which are Moors? For the people who say Garvey's not a Moor and all that stuff, yeah, He's indigenous to the land. 352, the plot. For the information of the innocent white and black millions who do not know of nor understand the ways and methods of modern intrigue in statecraft, means adopted by statesmen, their earlings and servants, dictated by the influence over public opinion of the rich capitalists who control government in behalf of their personal and corporate interests, to discredit me in the leadership of the Negro race and to destroy my influence among the natives of Africa is revealed. Scene: America. And enlightened Negroes under my leadership regain possession of their native land for the purpose of reestablishing the national independence of the race, and to honestly bring all the native blacks under the influence of true religion with the reign of peace, justice, and human love. The selfish whites who mean no good to Africa or the black race oppose the idea, revealing the farce and lie professions. I go ahead and agitate and propagate the question of Negro nationalism, preaching the doctrine of Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad, even as whites agitate and propagate the appeal of a white America, Europe for Europeans, a white Canada, and a white Australia. So in the scene of America, you have these emancipated and enlightened Negroes that are under the leadership of this maroon Negro. Remember, he's an American. He's an American. He's not a Negro because he founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Marcus Garvey, and just go check, is a maroon from Jamaica. So he was not Negro. And any dark-skinned person that's not Negro or black or colored or Ethiopian is a Moor. If you think right now to yourself, well, I never called myself black, then that means spiritually you're a Moor. You just didn't know what it was called. Deep down in your heart, you knew that you weren't black. You knew this. Even if you say black power, you know that that's not my identity. But the message was Negro nationalism. If you say you rep Garvey, but Negro is not a national nation. John Henry Clark taught that. There's another one of the leaders that they avoid his speech on nationality. Completely avoid it. Even though he's echoing the same exact words that Noble Drew Ali said. The same words. He was echoing. Drew Ali? Nah, he can't read because he's blind, right? So he didn't, probably not. He just picked that one out of the ethers because he's blind and his hearing is up. So he heard something that somebody else didn't hear. But he didn't know about Noble Drew Ali to make the point to tell his people that Negro is nothing, color is nothing, black is nothing. You need a nationality because the nationality ties you to land, and then he went through all the stuff, right? So the scene of the Americas, this individual is saying the same way that they stand up for their white is whatever, to stand. Now, again, the Moorish movement that it is earnestly hoped It is earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America is not compared to any Back to Africa movement. Go back to where you are. You can't go back to where you are. Meaning, if they found Memphis here, and it's been here for a few thousand years, if they found pharaohs and obelisks and stuff like that in the Grand Canyon, if they found pyramids made out of dirt along the Mississippi River, Ohio Valley, and all that, like if they found those things here, that would mean that over here is also Africa. Because from what we know, from what we study, right? From what we study, all the things that we mentioned, pyramids and obelisks and stuff like that, are supposed to be from Africa. So if they're finding those things in America, that would have to mean that over here was once Africa, because there's no way that these people are bringing all those stuff over here on a boat or whatever to just, and then go back over there, right? Like, it's impossible that that's what they were doing. More than likely, those things were already here. So this American is telling all these Negroes coming out of slavery that, you know, you guys are 50 billion or whatever like that, and you should be striving for nationhood. You know what I mean? Got his brothers dressing themselves better, sisters carrying themselves better. All the intoxicating things that lead to the downfall of a race, and being upright individuals. Remember, they have no nation, so they're not citizens of anything. This is just training to get them to that when they hear that they do have a nationality and what it is, that they would already be of a sound mind, and all they have to do is put on the hat and carry on in the same tone, treat and all that stuff, carry in the same tone, but just have their hat on. Because the nation, it must be expressed visually that you are a nation. It can't be just words. It can't be just a bunch of people together, you're a nation. No. Go look at when the Punjabis have their festival and they shut the place down. Everybody has their one color to represent their, whatever it is it represents, their one flag. Everybody's dressed the same, and those are Punjabis, and they're not anything else. But with us, you don't know what we are, because we're so much different stuff. Caribbean parade. All these people, all of we is one family, and they're dancing on the street or whatever, but they all have different stuff. All of we is one family, and everybody's gyrating on each other, and everybody's one big family, but all of them call themselves different stuff. Looking at that as these people are out to lunch. These people are crazy in their head. Something's definitely wrong with these people. Scene: Europe and America. At the start of my agitation, while statesmen and capitalists holding investments, keep in mind, he's not saying when the white man did whatever and the white man is, he's talking about statesmen. He's identifying the parties. He's not playing boogeyman like these people today that claim, you know, there's an enemy and don't want to identify the enemy. Marcus Garvey is being very specific as to who the enemy is, naming the parties. Nobody else has guts to name the parties but Moors. Only Moors, I hear, if something happened to them, some highwayman did something to them or whatever, they're going to have this individual's full name, who their boss is, their full name, that boss's full name, the different multiple offices that they work out of, and everybody's going to get hit up with something relative to whatever the complaint is. Right? That's how I know more. Moors have a situation with some collection, whatever agency doing whatever like that. And credit, because you don't want to pay, the Moors going directly to the credit bureau people and getting the credit bureau people to take that stuff off the credit bureau. Moors. This is what Moors do. Don't see her bickering talking about somebody's racist or whatever. But our people can't handle the truth. Our people don't want the truth. You have to take responsibility. Right? The truth means that you have to have a responsibility. Ability to respond. Marcus Garvey had the ability to respond, which is why they kidnapped him for $3 mail fraud. And instead of releasing him when they dropped the charges, they just deported him immediately. Because he took responsibility by responding. He wasn't mute. Like this whole stuff is all stuff Marcus Garvey wrote. He brought all this, and then Negroes still got problems? Oh, because they don't get the message. They keep following after the fake leaders that keep classifying them as Negro, Black, Colored, African, whatever. When it's known that these things are a fraud. Again, because it does not identify the party. They violated me, and then they need to be sued because the United Nations, as soon as he said black man, you just killed the argument. Because you're admitting that you're nothing. So why would somebody care that nothing gets violated? Again, this is why Roon was the founder of this organization, not a black guy. Moors were the founders of the Nation of Islam, not black guys. Moors founded the Nation of Islam. Elijah Poole Bey and David Ford L. are Moors. They're not black Asiatics. Moors founded the Nation of Islam, but then you're black. Shouldn't you be as your founder? Like the people who follow Buddha adopt everything Buddhist. So the people who follow Marcus Garvey, they should adopt everything Garvey had. Well, the first thing that you should adopt is identity that he's maroon. If you're going to rep him, then remember maroon is a variation of Moor. It's a fact. So he's identifying, which again, is reason why they attacked him, because he wasn't letting them slide by as not being identified. It's the statesmen. In the 1920s, that's only one people. The statesmen were only one people. were only one people. It's not today when somebody says Illuminati, and then you're like, well, do they mean an entertainer or somebody who does this, or like what? It wasn't that vague back then. When you said capitalists, you know exactly who they were talking about. At the start of my agitation, while statesmen and capitalists holding investments directly or indirectly in the diamond, rubber, ivory, wool, cotton, gold, palm oil, and other interests in Africa, instructed their newspapers, such as the New York Times of New York City, the Manchester Guardian of Manchester, England, and their other continental and colonial organs, syndicates, to cast ridicule and portray me as a clown, buffoon, ignoramus, cheat, and an impossible person. Right? Jealous of the fame and nobility. Because after, you know, slavery and we're monkeys and all that type of stuff, how is it that this monkey, to wake up these monkeys who supposedly lost themselves in slavery and they're not supposed to want to be anything but massa's servant? How is he getting them to walk off the plantation? A threat, because he was sent by the great God of the universe to these so-called monkeys to wake them up to the fact about their nation. The fact that if you don't stand up for yourself, don't expect anybody to stand up for you. If you don't do as other men do, other men are, you will be destroyed as a race. This is 1920s. By 1929, every single Garveyite knew that nationality was what's up. How do we know that they knew? Because in the 1940s, you have Carlos Cooks, who nobody talks about. Cooks was the head of the African Legion. And the African Legion wore fezzes, black fezzes. Why would the Garveyite that represents the military wear black fezzes if they didn't have some type of idea about when it came to military black fezzes? They had to know, they had to have some type of information connected to Moorish history to be able to demonstrate that position. And again, where is the information, Garveyites? Where's the info? How come there's no info on Carlos Cook? How come you guys don't even talk about Carlos Cooks? Why is he a secret? How come there's one book written on this individual? Like, why are they hiding him? They're talking about all this other stuff, but talking about Carlos Cooks. To keep people disconnected from the fact that everybody already knew. On our way to being that nation that everybody knows that we are. But again, you know, our own coming in, muddying the waters because people don't study. Leader dies, and then everybody's sitting there, you know, don't know what to do because one, they didn't study, and two, when these people came and muddied the waters, they would have already known, oh, those are the muddy water guys. Guys are, because we studied to know what this was about and what Marcus Garvey brought for us. So it's important that we study. It's important that we not just claim that we're whatever, right? But that we study if we're making claims, right? Seen the power of government. They use the power of government to intimidate me in my business efforts. Purpose of raising the necessary funds with which to execute the plans of real race emancipation. In order to execute the plans of real race emancipation, necessary funds had to be raised. Think we know Jolly said it takes finance to raise a nation? Marcus Garvey is telling the Garveyites that it takes finance. So if these, because remember, we're talking about people who, when they got the finance, they worked for the nation. They didn't get the finance and buy a jet or take the finance and build one school with all this finance, build one building with all this finance, and they have a private jet and a mansion. This is not what these leaders were about. The true, sincere leaders are the ones that take their personal whatever and give it to the nation, right? They inspired disloyalty and dishonesty among my Negro employees, which means if the Negro were employees, then that's right? There had to be businesses if there were employees. If I had a dishonest employee accused for a crime, he is freed. I am subsequently sued by the individual for false imprisonment. A heavy judgment for several $1,000s is returned against me. Other employees are encouraged thereby to steal with impunity from the organizations. By such reverses in business come, as would be natural under these circumstances. They now become more bold in publishing that I am a villain, robbing the poor colored people. They have me indicted, convicted, and imprisoned, flashing across the continents to every nook and corner, and particularly to every village, town, and hamlet in Africa. They influence my first wife to be unfaithful, and after divorce, supply her with money and protection to do harm to my name and reputation. She openly boasts of it. They employ other Negroes to go from place to place among the race about my supposed dishonesty or robbing the poor colored people with the purpose of driving away from me the following that they have feared would make my dream of nationalism in Africa come true. Seen British. The British method of discrediting, fearing native leaders is unique. When ridicule is not successful enough in dealing with them, they make criminals of them and then hold them up to the public as such. They train the quote-unquote natives, all dark people, this is in his words, natives, quote-unquote, all dark people. We call them black or whatever like that. He called them natives. That he's talking about when he's they train the natives, all dark people, to look down upon anyone who has been to prison. So by that method, they defeat the marked individual. Isn't this the same thing that these dirty Moors do? When they start talking about active Moors, and when you do stuff, you're going to get locked up, and then, you went to prison, and you're not supposed to go to prison because, oh, well, all the leaders who you say you honor went to prison. The leaders who you say you honor been in some type of detained situation with the colonists. Like, forget the Negroes who that's a normal thing. We're talking about the liberation of the people, right? Either they've been seen that prison, whatever like that, they've been detained, they've been harassed, bothered, ridiculed, whatever like that, or they're dead. What it is. If they're for the liberation of the people and they're sincere in their efforts, that's where it's going to go at all times. Always. During the trial of my case in New York, the plot which was skillfully laid, the British interests had their special correspondents in attendance. The testimony was retailed out that one of the ships of the Black Star Line was formerly a yacht owned by the American multimillionaire H.H. Rogers, used in Great World War as an auxiliary cruiser, purchased by the Black Star Line and converted into a passenger boat for intercolonial trade. On one occasion, I was to have traveled on this boat to visit the West Indian and Central American divisions of the organizations as a passenger like any other passenger. The boat was delayed in New York, and I sailed to my several destinations on ships of other lines. I met the boat in Cuba, stranded as by arrangements of the enemies. To Kingston, Jamaica for repairs, to continue its voyage with its passengers. The British interest for propaganda among the African natives through the Manchester paper and other London journalists with their African connections gave out the following false news to the blacks of the continent: that I was an immoral libertine who had taken the black people's money and partially from the natives of Africa and fitted up a palatial yacht, Eastern decorations and with a perfume saloon, Persian rugs, carpets, and hangings, and that I had aboard a harem of 50 young colored women formed before me in this elaborately as I reclined on an exquisite couch upholstered with the most costly of Eastern materials, myself drunk with the most costly wine in a debauch with the women of the harem. These lies were retailed among the natives of Africa to prejudice their minds, and especially the cause I represent. That failed to stir the natives. Then after my conviction, they broadcasted everywhere that I was convicted and now a criminal in prison caused by my robbing of Negroes of Africa. It was more effective in Africa, prejudice and hate. This also did not help them much in discrediting me, as a large number of the natives were already educated by my effort to expect anything by way of lies from those who wanted to keep them enslaved to methods of exploitation. Several educated and wide-awake natives who knew the truth of the native people after my imprisonment. To win back the Africans to their state of insecurity and religious watchful waiting, much was done by the interests. Always, it's your own. That's going to try to get you to think it ain't about nationality and birthrights, it ain't about that. You're not no mores and all that stuff. Only your own. Is out there telling you that you're not Moors. Find me some Europeans that made some video or called up some debate Moors that they're not Moors. You know, it's a fiction. Some pale Arabs or something like that. And, you know, Noble Drew Ali was a circus magician and he stole the Aquarian gospel from Levi Dowling. Find me a European that talks like that. Find one. Because it's only our people that play this game about they're not who their ancient foremothers and forefathers are, but they are everything that their ancient foremothers and forefathers were not. people are the only people that play the game. Who their ancient foremothers and forefathers were, but they are who their ancient foremothers and forefathers were not. That goes to shit. They're blaming some European. They ain't even got nothing to do with them. They haven't paid them any attention. Because, like Carter G. Woodson said, cut their own back door instead of taking the front door. The front door, back door, incompetence. To my knowledge, HBCU for black people. They know Europeans go to them schools. You know, if the Ivy League schools, then I guess Europeans can go to the historical black colleges and universities, and Asiatics can go to, what was marching up and down and all that stuff for? What was that for? For what? House and all these black, whatever, for Europeans to go there, then doesn't that do a disservice to all the marching and all that stuff that people were doing in order to have those so-called black whatever? That's why the world does not respect black people. And their actions prove it. Every day, all day. How much stupid stuff Negroes do. Listen to the world, because now everybody has, you know, video phone. Stupidity now. They can tape all their incompetent things line for the world to see, so they can have an example of how to be black that they know are separate from blacks. Trust that. Guaranteed that, you know, for all the people commenting on the video that we put up, telling you that we kill blacks. They say we kill blacks, we kill Moors, we kill, no, they kill blacks. Point. I mean, you can't say that so you're telling me that they're not going to kill Moors, and they're just said, or are you asking questions about what the horse said when the horse just said it? Just said it's recorded what the horse said, and then you're in denial? You're a crackhead or something? A crackhead? No, but, well, you know, it's just the dust of the crack that I'm smoking. I'm not really a crackhead. Okay. So watch them people. Make sure you study so they don't try to tear your stuff down with their campaigns. Stay as a weak mind. Don't want you to be a strong mind. Because strong mind is independent and fearless, or more. A strong mind is connected to their ancient fathers, that ancient foremothers and forefathers is going to give them everything and anything that they want. But it's only if you have honor for your ancient foremothers and forefathers will they even consider you. And I forgot to make the call out. I don't know what's going on today because I don't have the thing open, but chat muftis, you know, feel free. Shimitars up, take heads, do whatever it is, you know what I mean? Make the chat bloody if they're talking crazy in the chat about it. You already know that we don't play Noose Moors. Their birthrights. So we got a message from we got the day that brother Setnra did the pop-up class. Mother Brenda had left a message, so we had a good conversation. You know what I mean? Her mate is incarcerated, and they wanted to get, you know what I mean, some information in there or whatever. So she sent a message, you know, peace, brother Cujo. I spoke with my husband, and he informed me that instead of going through the facility chaplain to get him the books, you can send them via mail through an actual publisher or bookstore. Let me know if that would be possible. He's interested and expecting to receive materials, etc. Right now, again, you know, we're talking about who is inside right now. Like, they're inside the institution, right? They're locked up. They can't really do anything as far as exercising their rights, being that they're locked up. But it's real interesting that they still want to know about Moors and Noble Ali and the information that's out here. And again, the theme again of calling other numbers that say they are Moorish Science Temple or whatever, and Canaanland being the only ones that return the call. This is a repetitive thing that we hear from people who leave messages on our voicemail. Even if it takes us 2 weeks to return that call, at least we called back, according to the people who leave messages. People that haven't gotten anything. Forget a callback. They didn't get, the people leave their email address and stuff like that on voicemails and all that stuff. They're not getting no responses. All part of the same idea of getting people to lose faith in the Moorish movement. This not running proper. Why would I want to be part of that? They don't even return phone calls and stuff like that, right? Even though that mentality, having that mindset is a warped mindset. But these people who don't return calls, trust me, they're adepts and they're knowledgeable and they know what they're doing by not returning calls. They know exactly what they're doing by have a problem, make a video instead of, you know, email canaanlandguide@gmail.com, air yourself out. So Cujo could read your email and then we can have a discussion about it instead of going back and forth on some thread. You know what I mean? Because you're too coward to call into the show on Tuesday night at 9:30, push 1 and, you know, talk that trolling message, Facebook BS, so they can address you. But no, they don't do that. You know, they're going to play their little game. But, you know, in the meantime, people in prison or whatever are reaching out to us to make sure that, you know, we send it from a publisher so that the stuff can get to them. And you think this is some folly, right? This is not a reality, right? You really think this is not a reality? You can. You can. But I suggest strongly that you think otherwise. It was a long one, but I was glad that they sent this email. because it's a question and answer. You know, the answer is being answered, one, by a more, two. So, you know, it's all ears when mothers talk, right? You already know, the rap knuckles and ring your ears and the pinch and stuff like that when you're not listening. So let's consider what mother is presenting. Islam family, I titled this correspondence to you, Diversity and Oneness, to share some of my reality as a newly awakened and conscious Moor, studies to know the truth and the divine truth about my nationality and birthrights. Multiple times it has been said that the modern Europeans operating as a corporate entity can resist challenges by natural persons by claiming diversity of citizenship, which can be referenced from Article 3 of the Constitution. Diversity of citizenship is a basis of taking a lawsuit to federal court in which the opposing parties are citizens of different states, including corporations incorporated or doing business in different states, or one is a citizen of a foreign country. It is also required that the amount in controversy exceed a statutory amount, nolo.com. My first question to sleepy Moors is, if modern Europeans can claim diversity of citizenship on American soil, why do you deny your own right to do the same, operating more from inclusion as a U.S. 14th Amendment citizen than Aboriginal Moorish American nationals? Answer. Recently, I spoke with a Native American Comanche woman near Oklahoma Territory and asked her what happened to us Moors, using American Sign Language for Native American. She told me plainly what happened. You spent too much time with the white man. What she didn't say, nor even question, was my Aboriginal ancestry, or did she reference any slave ship voyage from the African continent. When questioning her and her nationality, nation, and tribal affiliation, she said she was Comanche and named her nation's geographical boundaries. At no time did she spout out a long line of chiefs, clans, or family names. What she said stood for exactly what she said it did. And in a legal battle, she would have been able to use diversity of citizenship against any foreign or corporate body or persons. People claiming to be simply Black, African American, colored, Negro, or Hebrew Israelite claim because none of these misnomers have a clearly defined geographical reference point. They must mute their initial claim from the onset by referencing such general distinctions. Latinos, though diverse, do not fare any better because they are rallying around a mere language and not a geographical location, which is the American continent consisting of North, Central, South America, and the adjoining islands. There can be no denying that there is diversity of citizenship as supported in Article 3 of the aforementioned Constitution. So why do Moors of North America not go to federal court on diversity of citizenship issues? Simply put, they have spent far too much time practicing the art of inclusion with modern Europeans, as my Comanche sister had said. There is the matter of oneness. Fact, quality, or state of being unified through, though compromised of two or more parts. As it pertains to governmental principles and national distinction, the United States of America is unity, salvation, Allah, and can be referenced in a body politic such as the Organization of American States, which does not mention any state of entity such as Texas, Illinois, etc. rather a collection of larger national governing bodies. However, due to the diversity which exists in North America, our national identity has been masked by colorisms, color of law, and color of authority principles, which serve to blur the national characteristics of each and every natural person, just sanguine hereditary. Oneness, it is our eyesight that has been blinded so that we would not see the oneness and unity that exists in perfect peace. In terms of oneness, it is our eyesight that has been blinded so that we would not see the oneness and unity that exists in perfect peace. Question: why is there no unity amongst the Moors in Northwest Amexem? Answer: colorism and unum sanctum policies are the main reasons why the Moors cannot and do not operate in oneness in North America. Recently, I was viewing a class in the West, and the moderator mentioned that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787 has two parts. This treaty was said to be the great law of peace. I located the document history and references via Wikipedia and the Mohawk Nation. I found that this document turned me right back into the founding fathers of the United States of America and the organic American Constitution, where John Hanson is said to have preceded George Washington's. During the same week of study, with a fellow co-worker in the municipality city of Punsaken, New Jersey, near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Upon approach, the man was clearly a middle-aged modern European, and I was apprehensive about how this encounter was going to play out, seeing that many European men in my profession like to relegate me to ignorant black woman status. The man begins to lay in with me the money makes the man paradigm. I immediately began dismantling his false paradigm, which led to him asking a series of questions regarding our American history. During the conversation, it was revealed that both he and I have shared ancestry. His mother's mother and mother's mother's lineage is Cherokee. However, with Taj revealing the name Ayanwia, which I have verified predates the term Cherokee, I was reluctant to believe this European-looking man. I conveyed many reference points from my studies to him, and he was genuinely interested, so much so that he was almost in tears when he thanked me and acknowledged the light that threw me to him. I gave the man some further instructions on where to locate the information, what to check into at Philadelphia, etc., and after about 2 hours of conversing with the man, we parted ways. Upon departing, that aloud revealed the lesson from this encounter. Upon departure, and at a closer distance, that when I first saw the man, eyes to one another, and as I looked at him, his countenance has changed. I literally saw the melanin coming back into his complexion. His hue darkened. It was here where I saw our oneness and knew what the prophet meant when he said that we are to love and not hate. We are magic. We are natural and divine. What they barred us from is metaphysics and the knowledge of ourselves. When this man was given right knowledge, he, like many of us, was able to be himself. As I had seen the family flash across the face of my youngest daughter at birth, I could catch it with that man as well. It was indeed the birth of a nation that I saw. As the prophet says, look to the 7 bridges in the sky. Can you see you are a nation? One love, Sister Najwa Hawael. So back to the top. And Islam to assist for demonstrating for God's trading. Right? So the Comanche woman already knew what was up. To go back again to what we said earlier, only the Negroes who debate with Moors. It's only the so-called conscious blacks. It's only the social media free national name or not slave name people that debate Moors. People who are in the world, that have lives, that read books and study and travel the world, they know what our position is. They know and what we got to do to rise. Like, they actually know, but they are not obligated to tell. And again, the only time they tell is when Moors present themselves to people. Moors present themselves like we know, then people would deal with us accordingly. But we haven't dealt with ourselves like we know. We're still guessing about who we are. We don't even know who we are. And again, it's across the board that all these people who claim that they're stateless, Negro, black, colored, they're being dissolved. And class is now the new nigger. And they're mad and they don't want that. They don't want that position because they know what's going to come. They sat there and watched the nigger get it. The fake nigger. Now they got the fake Negro out the way. Now they're bringing the real Negro in now. And the real Negro is like, forget that. You know what I mean? I'm the Pope's secretary and stuff like that. And we have grand armies of the Republic and all that stuff. And we're not even playing with you people. That's their position. That's where they're going. Now they're making the same stance. You know, again, it's diversity of citizenship because clearly they're European. Clearly they're European. And clearly they know that the Negro isn't the enemy. For the blacks out there, you know, we blame the white man and stuff like that. And then the white man standing up for the Constitution. This is what Noble Drew Ali told Moors to do. There's a Civil Rights Act in Negro statuses, but the Europeans are going to enforce Constitution and all that stuff, you know, because, you know, that is their stuff. They're the citizens. And they're taking the position of, nah, state what state gave anybody what? Constitution says ABCD. What do you mean state whatever? When Moors talk like that, you know, oh, we're following them. Following, it's about identifying the parties. And Europeans know that that's not no government. Some of them. International bankers and all that, they know that. They read, you know, McFadden bankruptcy speeches and stuff like that. You know, they know about New Deal and all that. It's only our people again. Again. It's always us. Oh, Negro, black, other people. Their own stuff more than anybody else. Negro, black, colored people. Who identify with everything else except a nation more than anybody else. Negro, black, colored people. Who, when you put the truth in their face like this, they're going to try to convince you that that's not the truth. Negro, black, colored people. Why? Because they have no direction, ability. They haven't mastered the ability to respond when all their leaders are the template for how to respond. Khalid Muhammad was a template to how to respond to a Jew. Guys aren't the Jews, hook nose or whatever like that. He had a response. They didn't like his responsibility. His responsibility was too agile for them. Right? Well, Taj's responsibility is, you know, like head open for Tyson to swing at. You know? It's that time of either you're going to be on the side of what's right and good and righteous and whatever, or you're going down with the ship. You're either going to be on the side of your ancient forefathers, ancestors, anybody who was in human form that was living a moral, just life that's in the past, that's deceased. This is now they're backing you. You are connecting yourself to, since we're using Marcus Garvey, and you know, you love him dearly and you rep him or whatever like that. Months go by where you don't have any divine messages from Marcus Garvey to you. Marcus Garvey's not messing with you. If you never felt the breeze and said, "Oh, that's Garvey in the whirlwind," if that never came to your mind, Garvey ain't messing with you. Right? Why would Garvey mess with you? For what? What you got to offer? Right? There's constant messages being relayed in these so-called black leaders demonstration. And again, we are using Marcus Garvey because he is the forerunner of the Moorish movement. So there's nobody else for us to really use as far as so-called black scholars or whatever. You know what I mean? We'll use Ivan Van Sertima because he was telling us we're indigenous to this land. We'll use Dr. Ben because he has a doctorate in Moorish history. We'll use Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, because he's telling Negroes the best way for Negroes to be free is to adopt what the natives did. Of course, we said John Henrik Clarke because he told these people about their nationality and all that stuff, and they played like, you know, they don't hear that. Dr. Delbert Blair, because he came out and said that he was Moor. Because he came out and said C. Freeman L. was his master teacher, and C. Freeman L. is Moor. So the black guys, right, and then again, Marcus Garvey had Deuce Muhammad Ali as his teacher, who Deuce Muhammad Ali was a Moor, or is a Moor. So all these peoples have had Moors around them teaching them. All the founders were saying, right? The founders of these organizations that the people say, oh yeah, you know, we are this now, today. Their founders were either Moors or studied from Moors. How the hell did the congregation become black people if the founders were Moors in the 20s and the 1930s? How is it in 2017 you're not a Moor when the founder of your stuff's a Moor? How are you trying to convince Moors that you're not Moors, but the founder of your organization, Dr. Malachi York, is a Moor? And he said Nuwapian Moors newspaper. and Nuwapian nation of Moors. But people in 2017 that say they're Nuwapian don't say that they're Moors. Oh no, he didn't mean that we're Moors like that. He meant that we're Moors like some other stuff. Okay. You do what you're coming with, that's your stuff. All right. You know, we'll go back again. Elijah Pool Bey. We know that that was his name before Elijah Muhammad. So, the Nation of Islam with another Moor named David Ford L, who turned into Fard Muhammad. Because, you know, if you're trying to bury the Moors, you can't come out with a Moorish name if you're trying to bury the Moors. If you're trying to bury the fact that these people are Moors and you want them to believe that they're Negro Black Asiatics, then you better have a Black Asiatic name. Right? This is the game that they play. And again, you know, messages being relayed by the so-called and the people are missing it because they don't study. And when Moors present things, you know, like it's like, no, it can't be that or whatever. The white man's dictionary and all that stuff. Right? 11. Oh, this is page 92 of this book, Marcus Garvey. Man, because of his sin, which caused him to have fallen from his high estate of spiritual cleanliness to the level of a creature who acts only for his own satisfaction by the gift of free will, must be regarded as a dangerous creature of life. From your high estate of spiritual cleanliness, falling from your high estate. Now, Moors know estate is a law term, but for the Garveyites who, you know, think, you know, what are we talking about and all that stuff, we'll just put estate on the record so that you're clear. The Messiah, Marcus Garvey, relayed to you Garveyites. Statement, man, because of his sin, which is the sin is classifying yourself as something that you're not, which caused him to have fallen from his high estate of spiritual cleanliness. This is why the Negro had to be improved, because the improving of the Negro is to get them back to that high estate of spiritual cleanliness. What is an estate? Estate, the interest which anyone has in lands, the subject of property. An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as the tenant, the condition or circumstance in which the owner stands with regard to his property. Hence, estate is constantly used in conveyances in connection with the words right, interest, and is in a great degree synonymous with all of them. Man, because of his sin, which caused him to have fallen from his high estate of spiritual cleanliness. Man, because of his sin, to have fallen from high right of spiritual cleanliness. Man, because of his sin, to have fallen title of spiritual cleanliness. Man, because of his sin, which caused him to have fallen from his high interest of spiritual cleanliness. Clearly, we needed serious help. If we were read it from that perspective, knowing what estate means, maybe we would have did something with what Marcus Garvey brought us. But because of our incompetence, because of us being foolish, because of us endangering our life with fools, we missed the message. And once you miss the message, you are going to have to take the class again. And not be as easy next time, because you lost out on an opportunity. So it's going to be the hard time around. This is why Grand Sheik Nature would always tell Moors 10 years ago, to do now as Moors, you better get it done now, because later on, it's not going to be so easy to try to get stuff done as Moors, especially with regard to putting on your record your status, that you corrected your status. So these people are not going to be sitting back waiting for Moors to proclaim their nationality. They have an agenda that they're carrying out. Either you have an agenda to counteract theirs, is going to eat you alive. The degree, quality, nature, and extent of interest which a person has in real property is usually referred to as an estate, and it varies from absolute ownership down to naked possession. In another sense, estate designates the property, real or personal, in which one has a right or interest, the subject matter of ownership, the corpus of property. Thus, we speak of a valuable estate, separate estate, trust estate, etc. This also, in its meaning, is the classification of property into real estate and personal estate. There is no such legal entity as an estate. It is a convenient phrase to identify the subject of litigation, court, and in proceedings in rem, it may be treated as harmless superfluity, a designation of a party to be served with a writ it is unknown to in law. It cannot be made the plaintiff in an action, as it is not a person and cannot sue or be sued. It is a word of the greatest extension and comprehends every species of property, real and personal. It describes both the corpus and the extent of interest. In some connections, it signifies everything of which riches or fortune may consist. Estate comprehends everything a man owns, real and personal, and ought not to be limited unless connected with some other word which must necessarily have that effect. High. So the estate is supposed to raise you up, right? The estate is supposed to give you a foundation. You fall over. So you need a foundation. The foundation is your estate. Your estate is connected to real or personal property, land. Now, if you're calling yourself Negro, which means you're property, then you can't own property. This is why the UNIA had a trust, because the property, Negroes, were supposed to take everything that they have and put it in the trust of the UNIA, become property, because they're property. But because they have someone that's trying to improve them, certain things would have been put in place so that as these people raise or improve their Negro status, their property that they thought was theirs can be protected until they get to that place. They would have had a share in the Black Star Liner, because that would have been their receipt that they have a tie, they have a connection to this so-called association that has a trust that's holding property on behalf of the so-called property that doesn't know that they're property. They think that a Negro is a human being. They think that the Negro is a human being, not knowing that it's a fiction. Noble Drew Ali coming and speaking from the perspective of Jesus, not Yahshua, to meet the people where they were at that time. He knows that they would relate with Negro. It would draw them because they would feel that it's something for their quote unquote name is being mentioned in Negro. And, you know, during that time, Negro had nothing. Good luck. But you have association. Association. You have association. You're Negroes. Right? And again, you had the W. Du Bois and all the other people pushing that same agenda, that they're Negroes. You guys shouldn't be supporting them. You should be supporting, you know, the talented 10th and, you know, have the knowledge of the stuff went to your schools and all that stuff, who you should be supporting. That ain't what it is. Right, there was a couple questions in the chat, so we're just gonna address some of those. Someone asked how FOI sold out the movement in regard to Elijah and Fard. Well, it's not necessarily that the FOI sold out, because the fruits of Islam are the muftis. The fruits of Islam are the muftis, right? So there's elder's name, but as an elder, the nation of gods and earths now, Dapper has the gazelles and all that stuff. I think, I can't remember what his name is. Anyways, the elder. The fruits of Islam with Nation of Islam, when they had fezzes, right? Now, we acknowledge, we have to recognize Nation of Islam was not founded as Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam was founded as Allah's Temple of Islam. Allah's Temple of Islam by Elijah Poole Bey and Fard or Ford L. That's who founded Nation of Islam. Out of the Nation of Islam came the fruits of Islam. The only reason fruits of Islam wore fezzes in the 1930s is because those were the muftis. They started the Islam, the fruits of Islam. Because remember, all the members in 1930, Nation of Islams were Moorish Science Temple of America converts behind Fard. The ones who thought Fard was the coming of Noble Jew Ali followed him. The ones who thought that the chauffeur was the coming of Noble Jew Ali followed him. But Kurtman Bey was the real head of the whatever, those ones followed him. Whoever else went back to the church. The ones who saw Mili Il as the head, they followed him. He said, forget all this, you know what I mean? Forget the church because I know better. And they just disappeared. As far as the organizations that were concerned, we know for a fact NOI started in 1930. We know that for a fact. That's actual factual. They were founded in 1930. We know that these people, Elijah Muhammad and Fard Muhammad, were not part of anything having to do with Nation of Islam, Allah's Temple of Islam prior to 1930. We know that they were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America prior to 1930. So everything that Moorish Science Temple of America had, they were able to adopt without the perspective of nationality being included, which destroyed the people. It made the organization prominent, but the people lost their estate because they're busy playing around that they're Black Asiatics. When we showed you in the last class that they were telling them that they were so-called Negroes. Why are they calling them so-called Negroes? Why are they calling them so-called Negroes if they didn't know that they're not that? And if they're not Negroes, then what are they? Because they can't be Black Asiatics. Then what Asiatic are you? Are Arabs, Africans, and Asians. If you're Asiatic, so where are you at in that? We go back to the teachings of Dr. Ben. Africans, Asians, and Arabs are all Moors. So when we say which one are you, don't think that same people. We're not talking about some pale people and then some other people. We're talking about dark-skinned people. It's like we were talking about with Beethoven, right? It should be Beethoven. That's how it should be pronounced, Beethoven. Why do they pronounce it Beethoven if it's B-E-E? Because really he's a Moor. He's a Bey. So they say Beethoven. Anybody call him Beethoven, you think something's wrong with them because that's not how you say it. It's Beethoven. All right, well, if it's Beethoven, then he has to be a Bey. And then we know, based on from studying that Beethoven was a blackamoor. And they never called him Black or African, called him blackamoor. Right? How does Rasta get their papers in order? Well, first thing Rastas have to get in order is recognizing that you've been told. First thing Rastas have to get in order is to recognize that this is Black supremacy of salvation Jesus, Negus, Christ, Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari, in royal majesty, Selassie I the first, Jehovah Jah Rastafari. This is the Black Supremacy pamphlet. Rastafarian, specifically Bobo Shanti. You know what this is. You know what this is. Okay. You know what this is. All right. This is the Black Supremacy pamphlet. All Rastafarians that are Bobo Shanti, meaning the ones that wear the turbans, you know, the ones that look like Capleton and Sizzler and all that stuff, don't let their hair out. They know what this is. All right. Page 15. Selassie, colon, what life has taught me. Tuesday, April 28th, 1964, California. What life has taught me on the question of racial discrimination, I like to share with those who want to learn. That until the philosophy, which holds one race superior and another inferior, is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, there is no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation. That until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, that until that day, the dream of lasting peace and world citizenship and the rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion to the pursued but never attained. And until the ignoble and unhappy regimes that hold our brothers in Angola, in Mozambique, and in South Africa have been toppled and destroyed, until bigotry and prejudice and malicious and inhuman self-interest have been replaced by understanding and tolerance and goodwill, until all Africans stand and speak as free beings equal in the eyes of the Almighty. Until that day, the African continent, we Africans will fight if necessary, and we know that we shall win, as we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Then Charles Edwards, or Prince Emmanuel, goes on to, in a speech, to making sure that the Lord stands for all people for equal justice. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights Charter, Article 17, 15, 4, and 13 show these principles and remember, these are all letters that he's writing to the Queen. And in these letters to the Queen, he's stressing the importance of them enforcing the Declaration of Rights and Article 15, right, which we know is, the declaration that everyone has a right to a nationality. But black's not a nation. So as soon as they start talking about you're a black nation, Rastafarian people, as soon as they start talking about black nation, and then you go to Emmanuel Edwards, and then he's talking about Article 15, which deals with nationality, know that somebody's playing you. Don't be shy. Support. Go get the book. Everything broken down. We lay it all out. To all the Rastafarians, all the Garveyites, we're not telling you don't be Garveyite. Islam. We want you to understand the truth about your nationality and your birthrights as Moors. And be a Moor. You can still be Rasta and be a Moor. There's a Bobo Shanti high priest upstairs my building that he knows he's a Moor. He beats the drum and all that stuff. Says Jah Rastafari, Haile Selassie I the first and all that. But he knows he's a Moor though. He's not letting no freaking collection agency send him some paper about pay and he's paying. He's writing writs. Rastafarian. He's not that we're going to beat the drum and let Babylon go away. No, he's writing writs. He proclaimed his nationality, that he is a Moor. He's not Negro, black, colored, and he deals with them accordingly. And remember, he's Rastafarian. He doesn't say Islam. He doesn't say Allah. None of that. He's Ras. Bobo. Ordained, went to Bobo Hill in Jamaica to be ordained a high priest of the Rastafarian order. Has the high priest robes and all of that. But he knows he's a Moor. So what do the Rastas have to do to get their papers in order? First of all, start studying about your nationality and birthrights. You could do that by going to rvbaypublications.com. You know, because we got proof by people starting virtual Moorish science temples that it's okay for us to have a Moorish university online. So the Moorish University online is rvbaypublications.com. That website and start studying. Information is not discriminatory. Information for anybody who wants to learn. Games all they want, Moorish teaching and that we're using or whatever. White man's not thinking that. Those are Moorish books that you guys are. We don't want to know that. We want Socrates and what Socrates learned from ancient Egyptians who are North Africans. They don't know that they're Moors. Moors, of course, they learned from goddamn Moors. Everybody learned from the Moors. It's not a secret. It's only a secret to dumb people who don't study. That is a secret to. Right? So Rastafarians, get your studying on. Don't worry about some papers. Please, don't let papers get you caught up in being a Moor. This is not about papers and cards. This is about having a mindset that is not Negro, black, or colored. Moving forward. Because Negro, black, colored mindset people do not act like natural persons. Zombies. You don't want to be around those people when they bring the zombie truck and then they swing the fence or whatever because you want to go stand up for the rights on some street corner with bayonets and stuff like that. You think that they're just standing there on some protection of whatever. They're about to corral the cattle. Don't be corralled. Stay your ass home. Study. Right? Nothing wrong going out or whatever, but make sure that studying is something that you're doing. Making sure that you're changing your mindset from this nigger mindset that we have ourselves. That, you know, we're so warped in the head. We're gonna be claiming that we're Rastafarian. Trust me, I was there, right? We're Rastafarian. We hear about Moors. We're dissing Moors as a golden fez. And it never really digested that the Triple Crown is a golden fez. And that if he's wearing a golden fez, clearly that's not some Turkish whatever. Because, you know, Ethiopia doesn't have nothing to do with Turkey like that. You know, Ethiopia doesn't have nothing to do with Fez, Morocco like that. That's gold. for the quote-unquote sovereigns of Ethiopia. Ask yourself, Rastafarian, why is it that as Rastafarians, specifically Bobo Shanti, why is it that when see a Sikh with a turban on, he runs up to you and wants to show you love, but because his hair is straight like a European and he might be lighter than you, them as your brother? And trust me, I come from the school of Rastafari, where we wore turbans, where these Punjabis, they seen us and we couldn't believe that we couldn't tell who was who because we were hiding our hair. Like we couldn't tell if are those guys, are those Punjabi guys, are those Rastas? But how come their turbans drop like that? They look like, hey, they're Punjabi. They look like Rastas. They got turbans and stuff like that. Go chill with them at their house or whatever like that. They got hair down to the floor and stuff. And then they're explaining to us about the high priests in India who are dark like us that have hair down to the floor. You know what I mean? And that's who they're looking at as the all and be all people. Wear any clothes or whatever, ding-a-ling outside and all of that. But those are the guys that the Punjabi people revere. The no-clothes guys. Down to the floor. That's who the Punjabi people honor. Which is why when they see us and they see beards and they see locks, long locks and stuff like that, Hindus, Cambodians, Filipinos, whatever. As soon as they see the hair, they already know, oh, you're committed like that. You're committed that you have hair to the floor. And you're darker than me? Oh, you must be God in flesh. And they deal with you accordingly. Ask a Rastafarian. Conversation with a Punjabi that's a Sikh. Right? It's real. It is so real. Right? So again, Rastas, don't get caught up in the paper chasing. Go study. rvbaypublications.com. Get your study on. Go to Canaanland Moors. We have a Back to Basics in our playlist. Right? 30 classes, 2 hours each. You can make it through that playlist right there. You should be all right by the end of that playlist. Right? khalifamedia.com. You can get the book, reference points relative to how does Negro, Black, colored people look at this thing called Moors? How is it relative? You know what I mean? We have the speeches in there from Garvey, speeches from Noble Juali, and putting these things together so you can see that they were saying the same thing. Right? And all we were waiting for was the call that we have the nationality. Because we had the God that came, right? You already know Rastafarians. Garvey told us that our God's going to come out of Ethiopia. And it did happen. Prophecy manifested. That's why we call him Messiah, right? So people don't know. They just think, we just make up some stuff. No, we call him Messiah because he prophesied the coming of Haile Selassie. That's why he's Messiah to Rastafarians, Marcus Garvey. Right? He prophesied the coming of the king. And again, Marcus Garvey also prophesied a prophet is going to come and bring you true Islam from the East. True Islam, which is really know thyself, not go pray 5 times and all that stuff. Islam master. Everything was laid out for us. It's for us to do with what we were given instead of wasting it chasing after people who really don't care of us. We have to care about the liberation of ourselves for ourselves. It's a way to express where one domiciles in regard to territory and republic. For example, would I say Northwest Amexem Territory or the Republic of Florida? We go with addressing the, like when you listen to the show, you know, I'm Cujo L calling from Northwest Amexem. You know, territories of anything. Northwest Amexem is where we're at. Northwest Africa. You know, if you want to elaborate deeper, you can say at Texas or at New York or at whatever, because you can't be in a corporation. You could only be at it, right? You can't be in McDonald's. Like you can't be in a name. That doesn't even make any sense. You can be at this place, but to be in this place means that, you know, you're saying the structure is also that, and the structure is not that. That's a building. Tomorrow they change the name. It's going to be Marshalls. You're not going to say I'm in McDonald's if the sign changed to Marshalls. But you can be at these corporate places. So you're not in Florida territory or whatever. You're at Florida, New York. You're at, you know, you're never in the city of anything, right? So never city of whatever. Leave city of off and just say the spot, but you're still going to be at there. You're not going to be in it, right? The only thing that you're in is your ancestral estate, which is Northwest Amexem. Only thing, or on. Why Moorish movement and not Moorish awakening? Awakening does not imply activity. Right? Awakening just implies being cognizant. Implies actually doing something, making movement, right? Agitation of the ethers. And again, Moorish awakening in 1920 whatever went over people's head, and they wouldn't even consider this, right? Movement being a little bit more receptive to the dumbed down people, who is, you know, the ones that we're supposed to get. We're not supposed to get the awakened people. They already know what's up. And the awakened people is for us to, you know, do our little sword dual stuff like that, sharpen our stuff. That's just to prep us for when we go out here to deal with these people. Get caught up in, you know, they got the plastic butter knife talking about they want a sword fight with Moors or scimitars, right? Don't take them people serious. Put some knowledge on them, sprinkle them a little bit, and go about your business. But, you know, it's not, you know, Moorish awakening could be something, you know what I mean? It could be something, right? Moorish awakening house, and there's, you know, meditation and stuff going on there. Moorish awakening newspaper, you know what I mean? Moorish awakening whatever. It ain't something that can't be used, you know what I mean? Free up, it's your birthright. But don't take Noble Drew Ali stuff and add stuff and change stuff and make it like, you know, he wasn't smart enough. He named something and, you know, whatever. That ain't, you know, what it is. I guess it's divine order. I guess it's in divine order. A question comes from Salahuddin Muhammad. He also asks which temple GS and verify them being on count or temple roll call. You can look at things that these places called Moorish Science Temple do now as what what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're only hearing about Moorish Science Temple now because they're feeling like they're not, you know what I mean? They're feeling that the people's eye is not on them. So they're trying to make themselves look like somebody right now. But like I'm saying, we've been Moorish Science Temple of America since 2007. We're doing the same thing that we were doing back then, right? Teaching people about their nationality and birthrights when they come through the doors, and then letting them go out the doors and go live your life. Yeah, we're here anytime. Give us a call or whatever, but this is your birthright. This is not some club that you're joining that because you're part of Moorish Science Temple of America, you can't study Queen Afua. Because you're Moorish Science Temple of America, you can't watch Bobby Hemmett, or you can't watch some Azariah or Panic or whatever. Birthrights. Anybody. We're here to make you understand the truth about your nationality and birthrights. And then from there, you do whatever it is that you got to do. Just make sure you're not violating the 5 principles and that you're not violating anybody else's rights. So, you know, verifying them, like for example, Brother Latez had a post the other day talking about, you know, people go into Moorish Science Temple when that's dissolved. There's an actual list of the temples that have been dissolved by the grand bodies. Dissolved, who knows? You know what I mean? Right? But again, it's more than likely because people are trying to pull rank on people, no different than the Temple number 13 Moors that they were repping Bratton Bay so hard or whatever like that. They just got their charter pulled. That's so hard, you know what I mean? Going on Sonder TV, standing up for Temple number 13 and stuff like that, defending some naturalization BS. Same naturalization people told those guys, F out of here. You guys aren't part of us anymore. Took their charter. Now they jumped on somebody else's bandwagon, you know what I mean, to be somebody. Keep in mind, we're Moorish Science Temple of America. Haven't jumped on anybody's bandwagon ever. Because we study. And, you know, our teachers taught us that being in this right here is not about making friends with people who want to be stateless and who want to, it's not about that. This is strictly about uplifting our people, getting them from dumb mindset to something higher than where they are. If we do that, we did our job, right? If we get one individual, you know, just like what we said, Moors said, you know, from we did the first YouTube that, yeah, just because there's no commercials, just that alone is gonna help with getting our people, because, you know, our people are whatever, and Moors are verifying that, you know, yeah, it's that real. The people who are in defeated position that feel Moors are threatening and, you know, into the show, they don't want to send an email, you know, they'll flap the fingers on chat, you know, and because we got muftis in the chat, right? These people get regulated, you know, positive regulation or negative regulation, you know, regardless. Moors, instead of getting it from Negro black guys who want to say something about Moors, whatever, when they're not even qualified, right? So Islam to all the Moors, conscious and unconscious who are coming into the truth about their nationality and birthrights. We have a blog talk radio show, 9:30 every Tuesday. Call 425-569-5201. 425-569-5201 and 347-945-5899. 347-945-9 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Blog Talk Radio, MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. Call-in show, 9:30. You know what I mean? If you want to learn the truth about your nationality and birthrights, tune in. Say that you're just tune in. You get out of it. Take some notes. Go review your notes. Go fact check everything that you heard and see if, you know, this has any standing. You make the decision. Don't let people who have 10,000 views or whatever like that on their thing make the decision for you as to what, if you're Moors or not. You go do your own research and find out if you're Moors. When you do your research and you find out that you are Moors, please send us an email and let us know that you made the transition or that you're making the transition. That, you know what, I actually went and studied. I'm a black guy and I actually went and studied Moors, and it's actually something that, you know, I mean, I'm going to look a little bit more into, because nobody told me none of this stuff that I'm finding out, researching myself, because, you know, they never told you that the priesthood is dead. And ever since the 1920s, you were supposed to be studying on your own to find this stuff out. If you were, then you would have been right in line today with Noble Drew Ali's prophecy of, if I can only get you Moors to think, you'll save yourself. Because you would have thought and realized that all these people that you've been following or whatever have been teaching you BS this whole time. Some people, they put little things in there, you know what I mean, to try to get you to realize the truth. But, you know, the pressure's on. Start telling the truth, they assassinate people. So, you know, some people are going to be closed-mouthed. They'll throw out little stuff like that. If you get it, you get it. If not, they're going to the grave with what they know. Right? And this is where it comes into being so in tune that you're studying so much that to your cellular memory. And yourself will start telling you stuff. When you get to that place, when you are telling yourself about your nationality and birthrights, because your cells are, you know, receiving oxygen and vibrating at a high frequency, they start opening up their brains, your cell's brains start opening up. When your cell third eye opens, then you know that you're awake. When your cells, when their third eye opens, then you know you're awake. Until that point, you know, you're probably still just a wanderer out there. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And don't forget, by 9:15, I'm gonna get into the show, and we'll just close out with a couple. We'll just close out with a couple Iron Sheik 6 songs, since we got time. You know, we got the stream for 8 hours. We only used 2. What would a few more minutes hurt? Peace and love.
One must be in the honor of one's mothers and fathers. This is why nationality is important here, not just here in the world. But this is also why the Europeans here took our nationality and put brands on us and start teaching the Negro preachers to tell us they were Afrocentric identity.
Green Finch! What up, what up, what up, what up? Feeling this one. I know you'll be feeling this one. Iron Sheik. Not that one. Moorish MC. as a slave. You know from where you came had a name. Ancestral estate claim. Blacks always refrain. They don't want to be Muslim or study Islam. Crack a hippie on the wall got me asking who's this man, cause he don't look like burnt grass from Revelation. Solomon said he was black but belonged to a nation. So don't bring that, it don't matter when we speak. Martin told me he wouldn't make it in the mountaintop speech. El Haj told you about Necro and Negro. Blacks didn't found shit, nigga. Humble your ego. Take some time to study, learn for once. Two continent named people are minors and think like a dunce. No matter what they do or what they say, they won't see nationality the order of the day. So they stay begging for rights, calling people racist, claiming all that stuff but don't know the basics. No matter what they do or what they say, they won't see nationality the order of the day. So they stay begging for rights, calling people racist, claiming all that stuff but don't know the basics. Inquisition, you punks. Pope Francis used his authority to denounce the Catholic Christian doctrine of discovery, ended the statute of ultravirus, revealed the hidden oath of the lawyer vampire, shutting down the squires and de facto empires. Got my Drew Ali shield walking through the fires of the Sodom and Gomorrah, modern day Rome, burning down to the ground, revealing my ancestral home. Northwest of Mexum, the Moors are back, enforcing the American Constitution, not the corporate acts or statutes or ordinances. Use will no praying like mantis. From within is the rise of Lemuria and Atlantis. No matter what they do or what they say, they won't see nationality the order of the day. So they stay begging for rights, calling people racist, claiming all that stuff but don't know the basics. No matter what they do or what they say, they won't see nationality the order of the day. So they stay begging for rights, calling people racist and claiming all that stuff but don't know the basics.
Also why the Europeans here took our nationality and put brands on us and start teaching the Negro preachers to tell us they were Afrocentric identities. So our people are walking around calling themselves Negro, Black, and colored and feeling free to do that, not knowing that it makes them non-descendable. And when you give them the law facts, they think you're competing with the schools of thought would have nothing to do with anything that's on the discussion. It is legal status.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you a gangster? Gangster? Gangster?
Black power my ass, y'all just playing the ass, posing, frontin', no bustin', no dirty cock gun button. At least more's right, rich, trying to do something. Pen as my weapon, feathers up and turbans, no bluffing. Don't get it twisted, sort of more get handcuffing. Judges dismiss cases, prosecutors cussing, telling my guys accuse themselves or get sued. Civil rights leaders got conscious blacks marching on news, stopping traffic of people that didn't kill their sons and daughters. In Canaanland, we call y'all bright and out of order. Nationality has me awake like a sleep disorder. While most wear blinders, my peripherals broader. For the record, I'm sweating nervous court recorders. In Admiralty, maritime shores, Moors walk on water. Engines return with other kills, no sight blurred. While they stay killing their minds and saying they learn.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you a gangster?
Your forefathers had names before they became slaves. Seems like today it's only nicknames and a name. You should be learning so pain could stop from these vermin. German Nazi Inquisitionists enslaving with sermons. Declared independence, still giving Moors reverence. Talking treaties with Muslims at Oval Office entrance. To the entrance masses, keep them docile and passive. Killing them, corralling blacks, acting like hostile fascists. Take oaths to break them, unless it's from the Lord. They give prophets, we take them and neglect ancestors. Playing Mr. Toffee, smoking a Dutch from the same master, but he's stealing your money for lunch. Wanna drink from their bowl, cause they spike their punch. With Clorox, I'm not guessing, but I have a hunch. I can say I stand up to mercenary punks, while you face proposing with Glocks cocked and shotguns pumped.
Pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother. I've never heard of it. You say you a gangster?
If you got guns and use them on targets moving. Try KKK badge carriers in your hood cruising. I'm not promoting violence, it's a point I'm proving. Moore's methods do work, but Coons disapproving. Khalid calling you out, but you're attacking the sheep and want to show me how good you are with your hands and feet. Never challenge a cop when they arresting your brother, but we'll wear hoods and hold skittles one after another. Acting with lethal weapons, Mel Gibsons and Glovers. Shot in the back and watching you suffer. Black standing on corners in seconds, life smothered. She forgave him for her son's death, but listen to mother. Listen to common exercise in his 5 sentences. To end racism, stop looking through racial lenses. Look at constitutional, not civil defenses. Stop marching. The only thing that pickets is fences.